What's up, everybody? I am Steve, and with me, as always, is D. And you're watching Conversations with Cabys, the only show on the internet that feeds the fire,
Fans the flames,
marches through the macabre,
wanders through the weird.
and dares to ask the question. Today's question is a three-potter: The Boring Company, Hyperloop, and Tesla, and what those kind of three combine together to inform us about our future, um, both here and potentially interplanetary. Um, Again, we're not going to talk about Elon Musk. I think we're going to wrap up with Elon Musk in the next one, kind of telling you what I think his vision is and shit like that. Um, we will talk about, obviously, him because he founded several of these. But the first one I want to talk about is The Boring Company. Kind of funny.
I love it.
I think it's a funny name. I think it was founded in 2016, December 17th, 2016. So just like right at 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, by one Mr. Elon Musk. Uh, Their marketing stuff is funny. I think that's hilarious. They started in 2018 like to essentially make money. They sold overpriced shit, basically. So they had 20,000 hats, no, 50,000 hats that they sold through in like days. And they released those in January 2018, and the hats were like overpriced. And then they had 20,000 flamethrowers for pre order uh, in like right around the same time, right around January 2018. The Boring Company's flamethrower was a blowtorch, so like a regular blowtorch that we'd hook up to a propane tank with a hose and shit, just in a concealed form with a small propane cylinder and shaped like a gun. It was legal to use in all U.S. states except for Maryland. The sale of flamethrower attracted criticism with California, and then ultimately the TSA said that they wouldn't, um, like, essentially allow it to be shipped, or customs wouldn't allow it to be shipped. They wouldn't allow something called a flamethrower to be shipped. That's why he changed it to the actual name of the thing was called not a flamethrower, just to be a dick. Because he's funny like that. He just likes to be a dick. Um, the He's doing something else cool with the Boring Company stuff now, as far as side merch to make money. But it's always this company was interesting. It was always about bringing capital on board while they figured out how to make tunneling cheap. Because like everybody would want to do subways and shit if tunneling was cheap.
Right. It's a
Um,
massively complex problem for humans, though, but they've figured out a way to do it with some ease.
with a giant fucking machine that's 14 feet in diameter.
And they named it the Boring Machine. It's great.
Right.
And they have specific names for them, yes, but the general term when you're talking about these machines is the Boring Machines.
There's three of them, and the new one is gonna be dope, and that one should be coming out like this year. They started assembling it last year, and that's supposed to be 15 times. So essentially, what we were trying to do is, I forget the mark Elon said, um, that would make us money essentially, where it would be like perfect, like where he can make it just orders of magnitude cheaper essentially, and he's at this point 15 times more better than the one that they did in 2017, and the one they debuted in 2017 was like 2.5 times better or something like that. And it was a substantial amount better than the current tech, and now they're going 15 times better than that. Like, so it's basically the cost per inch. It comes down, or cost per foot that you're digging these things out, and it's chewing the blades, it's because this thing is a single unit. So this boring machine is a single unit. So it tunnels, evacuates dirt, and lays the tunnel insert, the thing that makes the tunnel stay a tunnel when it's fucking done. And actually, and you can kind of pre-mold them as such, like with certain tubing and stuff, like, but not a ton, but you can do a little bit of that, and kind of spec them out to your own prefab design for what you want your tunnel to be. But it's so it's like a 3-stage process, right? And we have to figure out what we do with this dirt, as
Right.
well as boring it, and as well as laying in and riveting in and connecting up all these panels, essentially, that we have to put in to make the tunnel sound. And the dirt problem is a fucking interesting one, because he's selling the shit. He essentially made a earth block brick press or didn't make one, but bought one, put it on site at the tunnel location, and all the dirt that they're pulling out, he's earthen block compressing it and fucking selling it to builders and shit for like 10 cents or something a brick, or something fucking stupid. Yeah, 10 cents each. A brick is 10 cents each.
Wow.
And compressing it to where it's just as good as, any other brick. It's fucking insane.
Any other masonry brick,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just made of highly compressed dirt and soil.
Right. Also from a local source, because that's the other thing with this. So that's like the engineering side of it. It's essentially a 14 foot in diameter circular machine that's fuck off huge, that has a ton of bits at the front that chews away dirt, vacuums the dirt out, sucks that shit away, and keeps churning along and just goes all fucking day. And then its ass has the essentially the tube, like the circular like bins, like the circular like tubes, I guess, or the main rigid structure that makes the tunnel a tunnel. It has
the interior lining of a cylindrical tunnel.
Well, but plus the rigid. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's the whole fucking kit. And then it gets a new one on, and then so it's a whole fucking thing. It has to get a new set of end caps, a new set of tunnel parts, and then re-drill, and it's a whole. So the time is like essentially what the deal is. We have this giant machine that we invested a shit ton of money in. We need to have it drilling all the time. How do we make that fast?
Right.
And it's a hard prospect. But with that being said, it comes to, if we can do that, now we come into what can we do if we can do that? What can we eliminate? We can eliminate traffic, because that's what this is all about for him. That was what it was based upon. It's fucking LA traffic, and anybody who has any traffic in any state knows that you want to frickin' just have rockets or jets or something to get around it. It's horrible. It's mind-numbing and excruciating and soul-sucking.
45 minutes to go freaking like 2 miles or 3 miles. It's like, really?
Right. So that's what this was based upon. So if we can drill underneath, theoretically, we can go infinitely, because
In a straight line.
the Earth is fuck off big. Like, it's huge. So we have far more space below our feet than we have above us to get through. Like, essentially, we could have tunnel after tunnel in a layered effect. And imagine in a 3D environment, we have all these tunnels just stacked and stacked and stacked. And it's like, I mean, you have the Resident Evil, the Umbrella facility underneath the ground. Like, imagine like that. I mean, just not with zombies. And all it is roads and shit connecting each other. And some of it's going to be hyperloops, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But for starters, with what Boring Company wants to do, essentially, is A, create all of these tunnels, all of these boring tunnels that we can have either autonomously escorting your car, the car that you drive on the highway. You essentially get off at a normal parking spot, like in on the side street in the city, but it's designated for the Boring Company, or the whatever they're calling the internal transit, the underground transit of that particular city, right? So it's like a normal city off the grid. You would normally pay at the meter for this particular parking spot. So it's just a small little spot, right? Drive up into it. That spot is an elevator that takes you down to the tunnel, and then you turn your car off, okay? And then your car gets attached to a skate, an autonomous skate that drags you on a track to the destination you want to go, the next closest pop-up in the city, right? That'll be the exact same thing you just left before, but whatever, very close to your destination, right? And autonomously you're traveling on this. Because the key to all these tunnels is all the vehicles that drive in here have to be autonomous. Your car cannot be running. We cannot have any you can't have carbon monoxide emissions in the tunnel. It's a very bad fucking idea. Not to mention combustible gases and just the drawing of oxygen. There's just a lot of bad to it, right? Yeah. So these tunnels are only for electric vehicles, or this skate system to where you can use the vehicle you're using. We just attach our autonomous skate to it and drag you along, and you don't even have to worry about driving anymore. We'll get you there in 2 minutes. Chances are good. They're testing the skates out right now in a test loop, in a test tunnel at 90 autonomous, 160 manned.
I thought it was 116.
116, yeah, 116, not 60. I apologize. That was a bad slip of the tongue. 90 autonomous, 116 man. That's dope. That's way cool. And that's just testing right now. I mean, we are in the infancy of this stuff because it takes so long to get the tunnels going. So now that we've gotten some tunnels, and that's where like the Boring Test Tunnel comes into play, because the Boring Test Tunnel was really the first one. They started it in 2016 and finished it in 2018, like almost to the day, 2 years almost to the day. And it's a one-laner that goes, for like a mile and a half.
In LA?
In LA. Essentially, or no, a mile and like, not even a mile and a quarter. From SpaceX facility to 120th Hawthorne Street. So it's, it's not far, but this was the first one. They were testing concepts, doing a lot of things. Now they have the Vegas tunnel that they're doing that they say is over 50% complete. And the Vegas tunnel projected is going to connect up a ton of things. Because so the map that we have is essentially the entire strip is going to be connected all the way to Vegas Stadium and the airport. So Tropicana, Luxor, Excalibur, everything all the way up to Circus, all the way down to Circus will be connected on this essentially mass transit and free transit to where you don't even have to get on it. So it's like the people mover from the Las Vegas Convention Center takes you to your tunnel station, and you just hop in an autonomous, or it's like an Uber, right? You just hop in it, go to where you want to go, whatever stop you want to go, and the Uber drives you back. Boom, 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 right?
It's. I would say it's more similar to the tram at the airport. Whenever you have to tram from one terminal to another,
like the monorail.
Yeah, kind of like a monorail almost.
Yeah, but this is going to be.
Rail.
It's not. No, it's going to be underneath the ground, and it's going to be there for mass transit. It's going to be like that. But if, let's say, mass transit to all these specific locations, or mass transit to probably one of these specific locations, or a couple of these specific locations. But let's say you're at the or Las Vegas Convention Center, you're going to be able to call a tunnel car and it take you to New York, New York, where you don't. It's just you and your party, just like Ubering, but it's in there. You know what I mean? But the public transit aspect of the big cars, but these are again stacked long, like it again at Disney, like the mass transit at Disney, where there's multiple, like the monorail, how there's multiple cars attached. It's going to be very similar to that. I agree with that, and there'll be stops along the way. But you're talking, this thing's probably going to go 200 miles an hour in the tunnel. So it's 200 miles an hour, then you're done. 200, and I mean, you're probably. I don't know how it's going to stop quickly. That's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. But I like the video of the test tunnel one where they show the car getting lowered down, shooting straight down. Is he on a sled or is he on?
That's a Model X on. I want to say it's
just
like
driving,
skates though. It's like guiding skates. So everybody gets, when you get in it. This isn't a full sled. This is like guiding skates on the front, like 2 wheels, I think, or somewhere close to there. I want to say it's on the first 2 wheels though, and it's different than I think the skate that they're going to use for cars. I think the skate that they're going to use for cars is literally going to be like you're on a flatbed trailer, and then it zips along the track.
Yeah. Something flips up and braces the front and back of the car and
takes you, and you're fully there, rather than it trying to have the tires be involved in any manner, because there's just too many variables with tires there. You're going to need something universal to set it on.
Takes you like 90, 100 miles an hour.
Oh, I would say that we're looking at 200 is like what his target is, 200 miles an hour. And 350 for the Hyperloop section of this, and so the test tunnel is where they're really starting this, and it's where the interesting things are happening. And again, it took 2 years to complete, but this is where the rubber has met the road. They're charging $1 entry fee now to take the ride, essentially, from SpaceX facility to Hawthorne, so you can go there and take the ride for $1. So they're gaining revenue that way. But this is also a test bed for every time they run, they get more data. And they have another one that we talked about, that is that the West Side Tunnel or the Dugout Tunnel? The Dugout Tunnel is cool because they're going to do one from Dodger Stadium to a predetermined location on Vermont Avenue, the Baltimore-Washington Loop to connect DC to Baltimore, Chicago, downtown Chicago to O'Hare. That's a great one. And the Vegas one is already in production, and probably the first tunnel is expected to be operational this year, like 2020.
And they just went live in China last August.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that, and again, we leave the political stuff out of here, so say what you will about it, but, I don't know. Say what you will about it.
Yeah, I mean, that could be interesting, man.
So the future goals, basically, from a quote from Elon, is if you think of tunnels going 10, 20, 30 layers deep or more, it is obvious that going 3D down will encompass the needs of any city's transportation arbitrary of the size. Like, so as the city grows, we just add more tunnels. And as long as we can get the tunnel boring machines cheap enough, we're good to go. With that also being said, we're talking about Hyperloop as well, which is more of like pressurized tubing, almost maglev technology. Like, it's not. It's vacuum trains. The difference in pressure being shot essentially like a gun, hitting. That's they're targeting 350 miles an hour.
That's insane, dude.
No, no, scratch that. A 350 mile an hour route at 760 miles an hour. So yeah, they're targeting 760 miles an hour for Hyperloop. So there's going to be Hyperloop things. So Vegas. So imagine this. I know you're just flabbergasted at the speed. But let's just follow me along on this journey for a second.
That's airplane speed, bro.
It's faster than airplane speed. It'll be the fastest mode of transportation and the straightest because you don't have to worry about any winds or slowing down for stopping for the airports or any blockages like that. You just get there.
Right.
That's what's really cool. And also anybody who's going to talk about like going down in Earth, what about earthquakes? The funny thing about being inside the Earth there, you don't feel them in the tunnels. You're down far. Earthquakes are a terrestrial thing. They're not a below the Earth thing. We feel them on the surface. You don't feel them below the surface. So that's so you don't have to worry about that. But imagine this for a second. So the Vegas Hyperloop is being built. It's being made right now. Connects up to the LA Hyperloop that's already being made right now. Or the tunnels. The two tunnels get connected together with a Hyperloop. And then the one in Chicago. Like he's setting it up, or the company, the Boring Company is setting it up with all these locations. Like, okay, let me get you in with some boring tunnels and solve some transportation problems, make you like it a lot, and then while I'm in the door, I'm gonna work on getting my Hyperloop authorized in your city. As long as I can get my Hyperloop authorized in your city, I'll get my Hyperloop authorized in their city. Then it's just a matter of getting fucking easements, which is easy. Yeah, connecting the dots underground, which a lot of states don't have laws on.
That's fantastic, man. So you have downtown, inner city, fucking localized travel with the boring tunnels, just doing local hotspot shots going. Mm-hmm. You can do mass transit style, and you can do individual travel style.
Everything, yeah. For sure.
And then
freight. And don't even think freight. You'll have flatbed tunnel carts that just haul freight from place to place to place to place.
Oh, and we got other stuff to talk about too when we get in more into the Tesla.
So for sure, yeah. But that's on the road freight. But I'm talking about, imagine inner city freight being solved by just boom boom boom. UPS, postal service. All that
have your delivery in an hour or less.
Right. We'll all have. I mean, UPS will get their own loops. That's just tunnels to everything. We already got the tunnel. Run the fucking conduit in the tunnel for my UPS fucking vacuum tube, and we get a vacuum tube in everybody's house, and I get my mail vacuum tube to me.
Yes.
Imagine that shit.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about, dude.
Where I don't have to go anywhere.
To your door.
Amazon has a vacuum tube in my house. I got my Amazon box where just my Amazon packages come, boop, 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 spitting out every day. I mean, it'll eliminate a ton of jobs.
New construction homes are going to have a built-in vacuum tube receiver built into the wall.
So okay, so this is so let's get back to Hyperloop because we're going crazy. We're gonna continue on the what if train here in just a minute, but let me just continue on Hyperloop because this is a really 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 awesome point that I want to really hammer home here. It was it was an open source vac train design. It was an open source vac train design released by a joint team from Tesla and SpaceX. So essentially, Elon Musk has a version of it. He first publicly mentioned in 2012, and lots of essentially pressurized tubes, air bearings, and linear induction motors. It's very geeky shit, but it makes total sense on essentially on a rail system. And then, as we were talking about, but the 350-mile route that he was talking about was LA to San Francisco. So you can get from LA to San Francisco in 35 minutes, which takes like forever and a fucking day right now. Right? That's what he's talking about. So after he did all that, essentially he made the technology open source. He basically said, I'm not patenting any of this and nobody else can either.
Yeah, well, they were up until that point, and then they said this all becoming open source. They're switching the kind of direction of the company.
because he wants this to be. He thinks this is. He can't do it all himself, right? And he's going to make
Right.
money on this. He's going to make money doing all this. There's no. He's going to make his money. He just wants. I mean, he is because he has a company now that he's in bed with Virgin Mobile on too. So the original Hyperloop company that he had working with a couple other SpaceX people was bought out or heavily invested by Richard Branson. So they changed it over to Virgin Hyperloop One, which, again, very cool. Hyperloop is in its infancy, and a lot of people are getting on board. China, Japan, everybody. The interesting thing about all of this tunnel technology, Hyperloop specifically, comes to not just here on Earth, but when we get good at digging here on Earth, and it's cheap here on Earth, we can make it cheap on other planets as well. For mining purposes, for transportation purposes, it's it's a good it's good to do it here, but it's also going to be really interesting Hyperloop specifically because on Mars, for example, Mars is already low pressure. So you don't need the tube. You just need the rail. So we just have a shit ton of rails running over Mars that go 750 miles an hour that shoot everything all around.
Yeah, I get it. You gotta be able to stop and stay attached and all that.
Sure, but I mean the technology basically is in a crude sense mag levy where you can pretty well stop on a dime. All it is reversing polarity and you're done. Like you're good. So I'm I'm not really worried about. It's more getting there, rolling it out and doing those things. But with that, with the coolness that is Hyperloop, Tesla's probably going to be involved in there somewhere because the Tesla Model X was the vehicle that is in the boring test tunnel that you can ride in. And Tesla is the other side of this coin, the company that is going to be the electric vehicles that are going to be in a lot of these boring tunnels doing this Uber-like transportation that I was talking about autonomously. It's essentially the leader in autonomous vehicles, right? I mean, Tesla Motors.
I don't know about the whole autonomous thing, man. Freaks me out still.
They were founded in 2003. Been around for 16 years. Founded, of course, by Martin Eberhard, Mark Tarpening, Elon Musk, J.B. Straubber, and Ian Wright. Their income is interesting, and I've read some things about by 2022 they could be fucking bankrupt because some of their debts are going to be maturing.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's going to be an issue really with a lot of the things. It's just an interesting. It's Tesla's interesting because they also are Tesla Solar as well. So I mean, Solar City is encompassing in here now too. So you're talking the battery packs and all these other things that they're doing, and they're selling battery packs to SpaceX for the space missions. But as far as cars, they first came out. Let me take a step back before I get crazy here. But as far as cars go, they started out with the old 2008 Roadster. The old Roadster was based off of a Lotus Elise body, and their own proprietary electric engine. They only made a few of them, I think 20,000. And I mean, the real model, ultimately the real model, 2,450. The real model of Tesla, and he had it the entire time, was what we're going to do is make a boutique car that affluent people are going to buy at a high price that will afford us the luxury of spending that money on infrastructure because our profits will be high. Infrastructure and processing to get manufacturing costs down to bare minimum so we can mass produce a car to meet demands so we can sell it at an affordable price, right? Like that's ultimately
Right.
what it is. It's we sell the Roadster at a high price so we can make, and the Model S and Model X, we get these boutiquer cars that people with some money are going to want to buy, middle class, high middle class, and above are going to buy. That way we can make what is the Model 3, which is their sedan, their everyman car that you can spend 45K on and get one. And you can have a decent all electric vehicle. All electric, autonomous, a giant, like, what fucking, how big is that touchscreen? That touchscreen is giant. It's like bigger than 10
It's like
inches.
13 inches or something, isn't it?
It's stupid big. It's stupid big. And that's standard in all of them. And it's just, yeah. So the Model 3 is a really, really cool car. The Model X is a very, very cool car. As I don't like it so much. I don't like the design of it. They took a very interesting design, but their designs are based solely on aerodynamics. Like, if it doesn't pass their aerodynamic tests, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I don't care. It needs to pass that.
Right.
So that's why the Model X, being a crossover, needed to have the cargo capacity, but also the aerodynamic capacity to do, to where it kind of looks weird. To me, it kind of looks almost like, I don't know, like a pill or something.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one.
You said the Model S?
The Model X, that's their
X.
crossover, SUV. The 2020
Yeah,
Roadster is. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying I'm with you on the whole luxury SUV thing. Like I don't get that. I don't understand that at all.
Oh, I'd take an electric SUV, but I don't want one that looks like that.
That's what I'm saying. The appearance of this vehicle does not give me anything that leads me to believe it's an SUV.
Agreed.
It
Right.
looks like
That's
straight up
that's
sedan.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about. They need a bigger one. They need a full size SUV in my opinion. Like,
And they got the Falcon Wing doors.
which are I mean, I don't get me wrong, they're dope, and they can open. They designed it to where you can have like 7 people up to, but the standard is 5, and all 5 people can get out with the gull wing doors of any parking spot, no matter how close the people park to you. Because the
Really?
gull wings pop up and you're able to pop out, no problem. And I want to say the seats swivel.
Swivel seats.
Swivel
Really?
suites. The seats are on a swivel.
Put them on a swivel.
Pulled them on a swivel, baby. The 2020 Roadster's dope, sexy as hell. It's also $250,000. They launched the Tesla Semi. I watched that presentation in 2016. That's where they also launched the specs on the new Roadster. The Tesla Semi is dope, really cool. 500-mile range, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, versus 15 seconds for a similar diesel engine. I mean, they're the Model Y is also a rumored one that hasn't come out yet. They haven't really even hardly announced it yet.
Crossover utility vehicle.
Oh no, they did unveil it, I guess, in this past year. I don't know. It's okay. It's just, again, it's another crossover. It's a smaller version of the Model X.
They were unveiled last year, and then they were going to be delivering mid this year, mid 2020.
Yeah, mid 2020. That's right. And then the other one, the big one that everybody, the Cybertruck, which everybody has an opinion on.
Everyone does. If you know about it, you got one.
Right. So, what's your opinion on it, D?
All right. I'm not gonna hide it. It is an ugly vehicle.
I think it'll grow on you, for one. I think it'll grow on you. And I think this is not final design. I think they're going to lift that front end just a little bit.
I say that with respect in a way, because it is a totally unique concept that they're going with. This is something totally different. This is not a vehicle hardly. This is almost like, I mean, it's more reminiscent of like an armored fucking like an armored vehicle. It's not like, it doesn't even seem like this should be civilian.
Right. Okay, I go with
It's a,
that. Yeah, like this is something. This is something
this
that
is
would be on the battlefield, future battlefield. Trucks.
futuristic military vehicle.
Okay, so that's funny you say that because he said some of the inspiration was actually on the Warthog from Halo.
I believe it 100%.
Um, to me, it looks like a Honda Ridgeline. A bit.
Hmm.
Look it up, Honda Ridgeline.
I've seen them.
Look at the side profile of a Honda Ridgeline. But let's give us the reason why it looks the way it does and it is kind of built the way it is because he was going for a unibody design, to where the body and the bed are one.
I get that. You could also say even a Chevy Avalanche maybe looks kind of like
A bit,
that.
yeah, a bit like an Avalanche. A bit. It's not as tall as an Avalanche. I think it fits the size of a Ridgeline better. But yeah, I feel you. But yeah, so that unibody design is what he was going for, and that's the design purpose of it.
Well, hell yeah, super aerodynamic. I mean, that's
Well,
one.
the thing, okay, so any of them, any of the trucks, because there's three different models: single motor, dual motor, and tri-motor. Let's just run through it. The single motor is only rear-wheel drive, 250-mile range, 0 to 60 in under 6.5 seconds. Top speed is 110. The payload inside the bed, 3,500 pounds. 3,500 pounds. The towing capacity. The towing capacity on this motherfucker is greater than 7,500 pounds, and base price is $40K. 39.9. That's not
$40,000 for an all-electric truck
that can do work, son. This thing can do some work,
and it can haul balls while you're doing it.
right, right. And then okay, so mid model dual motor. Now we bump up to the all-wheel drive, which is nice. I like that. 300-mile range, 0 to 64.5 seconds. We bump up to 120 miles an hour top speed. Again, same payload because it's the same body. We didn't change the body. Payload's the same across all three models. But the towing capacity bumps up to greater than 10,000 pounds.
And it goes up 10 Gs,
and
so
it goes up 50.
49,000.
Yeah, 50K. Again, the tri-motor goes up. Again, this one's 70K, so it goes up 20K. But you're getting 500-mile range out of the motherfucker, and that's really what you're talking about. 500-mile range is ridiculous for this thing. 2.9 seconds 0 to 60, and 130 miles an hour, miles per hour, and greater than 14,000 pounds. That is a fifth wheel. That is a big fucking fifth wheel. That's the biggest fifth wheel you can get.
That's a heavy duty. And dude, just repeat that. 0 to 60 in
2.9
under 2.9 seconds.
Yeah.
2.9.
Right.
On a heavy payload fucking truck. Or sorry, heavy towing capacity, heavy everything.
It'll be able to do everything that you want to do, and then be really damn fast when you want it to be as well, which is awesome. I love that. And I mean, it's made of the same steel that fucking Starliners or
the SpaceX
spaceship is Starship.
Yeah.
It's the same material Starship's made out of, which is fucking awesome. So the thing about this thing is it's already prepped to go to Mars. This is the Mars rover as well. This truck, they're selling it to SpaceX as the Mars rover. So that's how he does this shit. So that's the funny thing. Like, so he sells all these things to his other companies. So Tesla's going to sell Model X's, Model Y's, Model X's, Model S's to Boring for their tunnel services, to Hyperloops for their Hyperloop services, Autonomous, it's their own chauffeur service that they have, to where they essentially sell out their own thing as Ubers, right? But they'll be doing it solely in the tunnels, to where you can call for service in whatever city that a Boring tunnel is going to be in, right? And like, so you look at Tesla and you're like, man, they're in the red, right? But I'm like, they have so much fucking potential.
Oh man, it's just
Ridiculous.
it's a lull right now. Like, it was just like they started out. It's almost like they're rejuvenating the business again, because when they started out, they had a small amount of money to invest and very little profit to be made. But then they slowly started making big profits and compounding that and blowing up.
Well, I
And
mean, they've
now it's
done a
like
lot of This is like
he
they've
keeps
done
reinvesting in new
gigafactories, and I mean, they did the gigafactory in China. So the gigafactory is the Tesla giant power stations where they build batteries, to where they make mega power packs, power walls, mega packs, the solar panels, all that shit, right? That's
Which, by the way, I found very interesting that they have partnered solely with Panasonic on making all the cells for their pack batteries.
that's cool. I'm
Yeah,
really tempted. So in Colorado, I'm really tempted to go Tesla shingles, roof tiles on the actual
you're gonna do
house.
the solar shingles.
I want to. I'm really tempted because by the time I do the house, which is probably 3 years from now, I uh, I would definitely be able to do to this would be more proven, and I think the Denver area would certainly be an area that they would be able to do like service.
For
Um,
sure.
Anyway, so yeah, so the Cybertruck is kitted already for space travel. This is the Mars rover. This is going to be their prime moon rover too, when they do moon missions. So they're going to sell these things. Like if they already have one rover ready and tested in 0G, then of course NASA's probably going to buy it too, to test at least. So they're making money off of NASA in that sense too. So it's just, they have these, he's diversifying in ways, and it's this whole package that's really interesting that we're going to button up real nicely in the next question episode, when we talk about Starlink, SpaceX, and kind of the whole scope of Elon and what he does with all this shit and where all this really is going.
Well, this is one thing we forgot to mention. We talked real quick about the what the body's made of, that steel that's on the spacecraft.
Right. Yep.
But we also have the armor glass too, which is an impact resistant, shatter resistant glass. I mean, they demonstrated it at the unveiling, and
It's
you know,
bulletproof. I mean, it's basically bulletproof. Again, which is the reason why they did it that way, is so they didn't have to redo it later for the rover.
right.
That makes it legit. And when you don't have a combustible engine, it's an electric vehicle, it can work in space. You don't need oxygen. So it's already an electric vehicle. It's already, essentially, all they would have to do is minor tweaks to sealing of the doors and a environmental regulation in the truck bed. I would imagine essentially a lot of that would serve. They already have the truck bed there as a compartment to store all of the things that they need to make this thing a rover. You know what I'm saying?
Did they implement the same technology that they put in the Model S's and X's and other ones? That is the
Every
like
single yes,
toxic
every single model
whatever.
of every single Tesla model, as of like, I don't remember what date, but every single one has that in it, and it's the like carcinogen outside air
It's
filtration
a
system. So
yeah, HEPA or
well,
air
it filters
filtration
out
system.
mustard
Everything.
gas. Like you
Everything.
could drive through a war zone where mustard gas is being implemented, and the motherfucker will filter it out.
Right. Well, because it's supposed to be a waterproof, airproof seal around all the doors and entrances into the chassis, and then it's
Yeah, but we're talking
uh,
at pressure too, so we gotta. There's gonna be some. What I'm saying is, I agree. Yeah, so they're already there. It's already for terrestrial
yeah, you're right.
purposes.
Pressure for sure.
At our pressure terrestrial purposes, they're already there to where they essentially already. It's in a you're in a single enclosed environment already, and they do that for multiple reasons. One, to block out road noise and other car noise, other car smells, and all that shit, and to where you only hear what they want you to hear. You know what I mean? Because it's such a quiet fucking thing anyway. You're gonna hear road noise, so you have to block it out that well. You know what I mean?
For
But
sure.
they're gonna have to beef it up, obviously a little bit. But they don't want to do structural wise. I don't want to have to change my windows and door, windows and windshields. I want to be able to just move along. I don't want my body structure. I don't want my tires. They'll probably have to fill them with something else, but ultimately a tire is a tire. That tire is going to work. It may be a different tire that they put on it, but an axle's an axle. That'll work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these things are going to work in that environment because it's an electric vehicle, which is fucking awesome. And then again, you bring the Hyperloop aspect of it on to Hyperlooping around Mars. Throwing your Cybertruck on a Hyperloop so you can go 700 miles an hour so you can check out another canyon. Fucking dune jumping as a sport on the moon or Mars. Like it's a sport. You like fucking just I vacation to the moon to do gnarly fucking Cybertruck dune jumps.
Dude, I don't know, man.
It's a world you can't fathom, right? It's hard to.
Going going 700 miles on a land vehicle has got to be absolutely retarded feeling.
That's the thing, though. Okay, so it's all about pressure.
Exactly. I know the how an aircraft, we're going about 550 to 600 in an aircraft.
Right. As long as we balance that pressure, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's where the stopping comes into play, too. That's why I think we can stop a hell of a lot quicker. It's just that pressure balancing act. It's making it feel not as jarring. And I think they probably have it down. But ultimately, that's what the Hyperloop tests are. Every year they have a Hyperloop test. It's kind of like DARPA in that sense, where they have like a bunch of people come out and try to make stuff, right? Maker fairs and things like that. But these people are designed. They've done. I want to say it's like 3 different Hyperloop pod or module tests. So they created. Was it who created it? I think it's Tesla created it. 1 mile long. SpaceX built it. Let me retract. SpaceX built a 1 mile test Hyperloop, fully ready to go, able to be vacked and everything.
On their own turf.
Right. That they have people come out and test these because they need pod designs that work, and to solve these problems of how do we make it comfortable? Does the pod float by itself, and is it on opposite of the track, basically, of the wheels? So is it almost like in a bucket that's suspended to where it can move independently? I mean, do you do that? Do you what do you make? There's 80 zillion kinds, and they've been doing it for several years. It's just all of it's interesting and all of it's crazy, and we're on the cusp of all of it right now.
It's exciting. I hope they continue to be public with it, because the last unveiling he did about Neuralink was very telling and very interesting. The last unveiling he did with, the Cybertruck was awesome. So he's making it a point to keep us informed. I just hope it continues to stay that way.
Yeah, I want to hear. I really am interested in more boring company news, more boring tunnel news. I want to know more about this. I can't wait for the Vegas opening. Basically, I think that's what the real grind is right now, and honestly, what we're going to talk about next question episode is really I think the drive of it all right now.
I think it's cool too because like with the Boring Company, this it's almost like a bigger vision because I'm sure exactly what his vision was is like we need a high speed, transportation kind of solution to solve the traffic problems, and I hate traffic in LA.
Right, exactly.
So, what's the first problem we need to solve? How do we get fucking transportation? Well, we can't do it on top of the ground. We don't want to fuck around with air travel. That's already been done.
Well, air travel, and you can't make flying cars. Flying cars is not the answer. Flying cars,
No.
imagine all these assholes that are on the road right now in a flying fucking car above your goddamn head. They'll
Yes.
wreck into fucking shit and fucking smush your ass. Like, fuck that. Flying cars is a horrible fucking idea.
Tall buildings and power lines and trees, and that's enough said right
A
there.
horrible idea. Horrible idea. So where do
No.
you go? You go underneath the ground.
You go underneath the ground. His first problem he runs into, okay, well, first of all, how do I get the okay to go underground?
Right.
And then second of all, how do I make anything underground? How do I
Right.
do that?
Well,
I
yeah.
need
Let me
something massive.
look into drills, and then I look at drills, and I realize drills haven't changed much in a really long time, and they're slow as shit. Let's fix
Let's
it.
fix that. Yeah,
Right.
let's fix it.
It's and that's the mentality. That's the mantra with everything he does. From Neuralink, when we talked about Neuralink, what's the problem? What are our hurdles with that problem? What are the key points that we can fix? What's going to give us the most cost benefit, right? Like if we put our effort here, will this yield us the best result for that? I mean, are we going to get the most bang for our buck in putting our effort here, or are we going to get it over here? And it's
Right.
always that way, whether it's the boring, I mean, it's these key changes, and he finds this shit with all these industries. It's the Boring Company. We haven't changed tunneling technology in for fucking ever. Subway, like drilling holes for subways, has just gotten more expensive. The price has not gone down. The cost per mile has not gone down ever. That's a problem.
Yeah.
There's no competition. Hyperloop, Tesla, he gets car manufacturing hasn't changed in forever. What do we need? We need electric vehicles. How do we do that? Well, we don't need another Nissan Leaf. We don't need another Chevy Volt. We
Right.
don't need another Prius that look like shit. Nobody wants to fucking drive those. Let's make a car that looks good. Let's make a roadster. Let's make a car that goes really goddamn fast because we can, because it's an electric motor and we get the power right now.
Right.
And we can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds because we get the power right now. And it's all these, he sees the problem, like the most glaring and obvious problem, to make something orders of magnitude better so he can make a shit ton of money at it, but also
Yeah.
improve it. I mean, also improve it, but it's coming from and it's not anything like he just had the money and I mean, from PayPal essentially, he had the money to be like, okay, what sectors suck? How can I improve life, like better life for people? We're getting into something I wanted to talk about next episode, but basically, and that's like it's the mantra, and we'll talk about that more with SpaceX. But it's the mantra of how can I better people, fix an industry, make money doing it,
Yeah.
and we'll talk more about
Absolutely.
that in the next question episode, and more about kind of
That's
the
it.
vision for it all.
Yeah. Sounds similar to somebody else I know.
You're funny. Anyway, so I think that's a good spot to end it. This one was a little shorter, but I also wanted to save a lot of what I want to talk about because we're going to talk about Tesla a lot more, and maybe touch on the Boring Company and the SpaceX one just because they're an integral part of all this. And like I said, he's got his hands in so many pockets that he's selling things to all of his other companies with it. I mean, it's crazy. So we'll talk more about that in the next question episode.
And certainly in the future, more Elon Musk coming as
Yeah,
well.
for sure. When in more question episodes when he comes out with crazy other shit, and we'll talk about him as well in the next one. Um, always, if you dig it, if you made it this far, like, subscribe, give us a comment. Tell us what you think about Mr. Elon Musk, if you dig on him or not. Tell us what you think about Cybertruck. That's a polarizing one. Throw that in there if you think it's shit or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Tell us also if you think that's
pros
final
or cons
design.
for or against.
Yeah, tell us if you think that's final design too, because I don't think that's final design. I think it's gonna be adjusted a little bit. It's pretty close. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's some front end work that's probably gonna happen, and a couple other things that are gonna happen to maybe change that a little bit. But who knows? Maybe that is final design. But yeah, we're gonna look for funny haha on Friday. It's a good one. It's a good one this Friday. You'll like it. And then Sunday, it's a Chili Peppers.
Oh yeah.
So I look forward to that, guys. Until then, be good to each other. We love you guys. Deuces.